Tucker Carlson just finally took off the kid gloves and launched a full frontal assault on Donald Trump. Right now, you'll remember that yesterday we saw Joe Rogan and Theo going off on the Iran war, as well as Alex Jones and Marjorie Greene sounded off on that unhinged Easter post that Trump made, or the one where he threatened to bomb bridges and power plants, said, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, you'll be living in hell," and topped it off with "Praise be to Allah." And well, now you've got even more big names jumping in. You've got allegations of Satanism, the Antichrist, anti-Americanism, nuclear war, and really so much more, starting with Tucker Carlson. Because he accused Trump of desecrating Easter Sunday, and he argued that the red flags go all the way back to the beginning.
On Inauguration Day, the president did not take his oath of office with his hand on the Bible. That suggests not that you don't believe it's real, because if you didn't believe it was real, why would you care? You'd put on the costume and take it off. It doesn't matter. That suggests you know it is real and you're rejecting it intentionally. You know what you're doing, and you're doing it anyway.
Then you had Tucker saying that the final straw was when Trump invaded Venezuela, not so much because of what he did, but more so why he did it, which by Trump's own admission was to take their oil.
Theft is wrong. It's wrong under the American legal code, but it's also wrong under the Christian legal code. Theft is wrong. Spelled out really clearly. It's also intuitive. And here was the president saying, we're just stealing this because we can.
With Tucker then going on to say that might is right attitude, what he called the law of the jungle, is the opposite of the highest law there is, God's law. And so he argues that by that point, Christians should have stopped supporting Trump. And then tying it back to the Bible, he speculated that Trump didn't put his hand on it because he refuses to recognize any law or limit higher than himself, which according to Tucker is tantamount to Trump making himself God, and he says that that is anti-Christian. With Tucker then reading the president's Easter post in horror.
There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait. How dare you speak that way on Easter morning to the country? Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be living in hell. As if hell is a place. Hell is a condition. And this is an example of that condition. It is vile on every level. Blow up their bridges? Bridges that people cross every day to go to school and work and to worship, and yes, church, because there are over 1 million Christians in Iran. This is their Easter too? And power plants. Iran is a modern country. What happens when it loses power? Well, people die. Babies connected to incubators die. People in hospitals die. And then people begin to starve. And then you have refugee crises. People leave the cities looking for food. And then, yes, they move into other countries. It's totally unacceptable. Not under the phony laws of some international body, but under moral law. God's law. Nobody thinks this is going to work. The thrill is in the killing. The power is in the killing. The exertion of force is the point.
And you had Tucker going on to speculate that the infamous strike on a girls' school early on in the war, it may have actually been intentional. But to that, you have Ben Shapiro dismissing that very idea as anti-American.
You think Pete Hegseth and President Trump are sitting around drawing up a target list and they say, you know what, just for good measure, let's kill a bunch of Iranian schoolgirls. Is that what you think? If you think that, you despise America. Again, you can oppose the war. You can oppose the way that the war is being fought. You can have problems with the general overall strategy. You can have honest questions about the war. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people openly hoping that America loses because they do not like America.
With Shapiro also accusing Tucker of hypocrisy for criticizing American military actions, but not those of other countries.
Tucker Carlson has been super pro-Russia throughout the entire Russia-Ukraine conflict, as Russia targets civilians. He has been extraordinarily pro-Iran throughout this entire conflict after Iran murdered some tens of thousands of people in the streets.
And then as far as the bridges and the power plants that Trump threatened, you had been thinking that it's just too early to judge.
Yes, if we just blew up a bridge in the middle of an Iranian town, far from the fighting centers that has nothing to do with the material goal of the war, that would in fact be a violation of the laws of war, such as they are. However, if you blow up a power plant because the power plant is generating the power on behalf of the IRGC, that is a different story.
But Tucker's not convinced. In fact, he went as far as to argue that the logical outcome of the path that Trump's headed down is nuclear war. Not to mention religious war, which Tucker really took issue with, citing that apparently sarcastic praise be to Allah in Trump's post.
No decent person mocks other people's religions. You may have a problem with the theology, but to mock other people's faith is to mock the idea of faith itself. This is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity.
And then extending that argument even further, he seemed to imply without stating it outright that Donald Trump is the Antichrist.
But there's been only one sustained effort to exterminate a faith, and that's the Christian faith. Could that be part of it? Is it possible the president sees this in bigger terms? sees this as the fulfillment of something or the elevation to some higher office beyond President of the United States. That's entirely possible.
And you then had Tucker spending the rest of his show talking about how Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, compared the president to Jesus Christ himself, which is then also something that Candace Owens also appeared to reference in her response to Trump's Easter Post writing. This is a satanic administration. We all realize that satanic Zionists occupy the White House, and Congress needs to move to have the Mad King Trump removed. All our lives may depend upon other countries realizing that Trump is deeply unwell and surrounded by religious fanatics who have convinced him that he is a messiah. We are in uncharted territory. Leaders worldwide need to act accordingly. So there you had Ben Shapiro dismissing her as well.
What in the world is she even talking about? What is she talking about? You know, probably she'll provide us evidence of this the same time that she provides evidence that Egyptian planes were linked to the murder of Charlie Kirk.
But you had Candace still going with her reposting someone who said, the time has come for the military to refuse to cooperate with orders like this. Catholics will have to take the lead. The Christian Zionists are incapable of rational behavior. And then you had her agreeing with Piers Morgan's commentary that Trump's post was a brazen pre-admission to genocide against the Iranian people, replying the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He is a genocidal lunatic. Our Congress and military need to intervene. We are beyond madness. But then you also had one of Trump's die-hard, filthiest bootlickers and close advisors out there, Laura Loomer, weighing in and writing, Candace Owens is now accusing President Trump's administration of being satanic. Meanwhile, she's dancing on her so-called best friend's grave. Her best friend who didn't invite her to his wedding. Or with that seeming to refer to Charlie Kirk and then Candace's conspiracy theories about his assassination. And then you had Loomer going after Tucker Carlson as well, writing, by riling people up with lies about how President Trump is the Antichrist, Tucker Carlson appears to be trying to incite someone to physically harm President Trump. How can anyone who claims to be loyal to the president continue making excuses for Tucker? I hate Tucker Carlson. With her also reiterating the same claim she's made for months now that Tucker is actually a Muslim. With her even polling her followers on whether they should call him Tucker Carlson or Tehran Tucker. And then with all this, you had a New York Post reporter who quoted Trump saying, Tucker's a low IQ person that has absolutely no idea what's going on. He calls me all the time. I don't respond to his calls. I don't deal with him. I like dealing with smart people, not fools. But then also, all the while, there's a person who's seemingly trying to mend the divide here, and that is Megyn Kelly. Or with her explaining away Trump's post as a kind of a tactical genius.
The president's messaging on Iran has been particularly erratic over the past week. And I don't know whether this is all strategy. You know, Trump likes to keep the enemy guessing. So he often has erratic messaging that to us looks kind of crazy, but to him is just, you know, a tactic.
Right. And then she expressed serious concern about the way that this war is tearing the MAGA coalition apart.
And look, the president, I told him this directly, that I don't support this war, but I do support him. And there's a difference. You know, you can still support Trump and his agenda without, you don't have to go full TDS.
Right.
In order to say, I object to this war and I don't think this is a good idea. I've kind of given up on 2026, to be perfectly honest with you. But like 2028 could still be salvaged and could definitely be hurt